You know that feeling? You did everything right today, maybe tackled that tough project, ate something, reasonably healthy, maybe even got a walk in. And now, finally, it's bedtime. You sink into bed, pull up the covers, and bam.
Showtime.
Yeah, showtime. Your brain just decides, okay, let's replay everything. Every worry, every task you didn't finish, that awkward chat.
Yeah.
It's all just looping right when you desperately want peace.
Oh, I know it well. Staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick, the frustration just builds and builds.
Exactly. That feeling where the day's anxieties basically follow you right into bed. It's so common, isn't it?
Incredibly common. Just when your mind needs to power down, it decides to throw like a massive party.
Right. And it's more than just annoying. It's genuinely exhausting. It affects so much.
Absolutely.
So tonight we're doing a deep dive. We got all this great material from you, articles, research, your notes, all about health, psychology, well-being. We want to dig in and pull out some really actionable stuff, maybe some surprising facts about how we can actually find that peace before sleep.
Yeah, how to turn those anxious nights into genuinely restful mornings. That's the goal.
That's the mission for this deep dive. We're going to guide you through this material, try to extract the most useful bits. We've got stuff on like your bedroom environment, the whole stress-sleep connection, and then specific techniques, mental and physical, to try and break that cycle.
Think of it as assembling a toolkit. Tools to help quiet that nighttime brain chatter and finally get some proper rest.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then, because the sources really hammer home this point about understanding the connection between stress and sleep. They call it a vicious cycle.
It really is. And it's tricky to break if you don't quite grasp how it works. At its core, stress, as the sources explain it, it's actually a normal response, ancient even, built into our biology.
Right. It's how we react to threats.
Exactly. Anything perceived as a threat could be physical danger, like, literally needing to escape something harmful, like the classic example.
Like running from a lion.
Yeah, exactly. One source uses that analogy, escaping a lion or a wild boar. But nowadays, it's much more likely to be psychological threats, work deadlines, money worries, social stuff.
But our body reacts the same way.
Pretty much, yeah. When that threat is detected, the body kicks into what we call the fight or flight response.
Okay. And what happens then physiologically?
Well, the sources detail this whole cascade of changes. Your heart rate shoots up, your breathing gets faster, shallower, and your body releases these powerful stress hormones. Things like cortisol and adrenaline just flood your system.
To get you ready for action.
Precisely. It's this primal program designed for immediate action, fight the threat, or run like heck. It gives you that burst of energy, heightened awareness you'd need for survival in that lion scenario.
Which is super useful if there is a lion.
Right.
But maybe less useful when you're just lying in bed trying to sleep and the lion is an email you forgot to send or tomorrow's meeting.
Exactly. These modern stressors, even though they're not physically dangerous, they can trigger that exact same powerful fight or flight response.
And that state, the racing heart, fast breathing, the alertness, all that cortisol, it's the complete opposite of what you need for sleep, isn't it?
The absolute opposite. Sleep requires winding down, a significant slowing of everything. Your heart rate needs to drop. Breathing needs to become slow and deep, muscles need to relax, and those stress hormone levels, like cortisol, they need to naturally decrease as the night goes on.
And this is where the cycle kicks in, the sort of chicken and egg problem the sources mention.
Yes, that's the crux of it. It's clearly shown as a two-way street. First, stress directly interferes with your sleep, makes it hard to fall asleep, wakes you up during the night, leads to lighter, less refreshing sleep.
Okay, so stress messes up sleep.
But here's the cruel twist. Poor sleep then directly messes up your ability to handle stress. When you're sleep deprived, your body doesn't clear out that excess cortisol effectively. The systems that normally regulate your stress response become less efficient.
And your brain.
Your brain relies heavily on sleep for emotional processing, for regulation. When it's tired, it struggles with those tasks.
Okay, let me see if I've got this cycle right based on what you're saying. So I get stressed during the day or evening, fight or flight kicks in, cortisol goes up. That makes it hard to sleep well. Because I sleep badly, my body doesn't clear the cortisol properly or regulate stress well overnight.
Right.
So the next day, I start with higher stress hormones and I'm less resilient, which makes me more likely to feel stressed again.
Exactly.
Which leads to even worse sleep the next night. It just feeds itself.
That's a perfect summary of the cycle described in the material, a genuinely self-perpetuating loop. And breaking that cycle is highlighted as just crucial for overall well-being.
Because it's not just about feeling tired.
No, not at all. The impact goes way beyond that. This cycle leads to chronic physical exhaustion, significant emotional strain.
Right.
You might feel more irritable, more negative, and critically, it messes with your cognitive function during the day.
Like concentration,
Yeah.
decision-making.
Yeah, concentration, memory, problem solving, even making good decisions, all compromised. One source used this really striking analogy. It said after a night of poor sleep, the brain's emotional centers, like the amygdala, can become overactive.
The fear center.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh.
While the prefrontal cortex, the part that usually helps regulate anxiety and apply rational thought, becomes less effective, it's like the brain is too heavy on the emotional accelerator pedal without enough brake.
Wow, too heavy on the emotional accelerator. That really paints a picture. It makes sense why you'd feel more reactive or overwhelmed after bad sleep when stress is high. Okay, so we get the problem. Stress causes bad sleep fuels stress. How do we start breaking out? The sources seem to move towards practical steps next, starting with our environment.
Yes, they shift focus to laying the groundwork, creating what's described as a sanctuary for sleep, optimizing your physical space and setting up some basic habits around bedtime, often called sleep hygiene.
Sleep hygiene always sounds so clinical.
It does, doesn't it? I like haven of calm or sanctuary better. It feels more inviting.
So what's the main goal of creating this sanctuary?
It's simple but really powerful. You want to train your brain to strongly associate your bedroom primarily with sleep and relaxation. That's it. Not with work, not with stress, not with scrolling on your phone or intense activities.
So when you go in there, your brain gets the signal. Time to wind down.
Exactly, setting the stage. And the sources give some really specific, actionable tips for the environment itself. Darkness is a big one.
Obviously important.
Absolutely crucial. Light, especially artificial light lamps, overheads, and definitely screens, it's a powerful signal to your brain. It messes with your internal clock, your circadian rhythm. And crucially, it interferes with producing melatonin.
The sleep hormone.
Right. Your brain makes melatonin in dim light to tell your whole system, hey, it's nighttime, prepare for sleep. So the advice is clear. Dim the lights in your home in the evening as bedtime gets closer. And if you've got light coming in from outside, blackout curtains can make a huge difference. Even tiny amounts of light can be disruptive.
Keeping it quiet, too. That's another obvious one.
Yeah, minimizing noise, not just so you don't get startled awake, but it also really contributes to that feeling of calm and security you need for deep rest. If noise is an issue you can't control, things like earplugs or a white noise machine can be really helpful tools.
Okay, dark and quiet. Makes sense. But here's one that surprised me a bit in the notes temperature. I always thought warm and cozy was the way to go.
That's a really common thought. But the sources and sleep science generally point the other way. They specifically mention keeping your bedroom on the cooler side is optimal.
Cooler? Like how cool?
Well, a range around 65 Fahrenheit, which is about 18 Celsius, is often cited. But the main idea is just keeping it cooler than your usual daytime temperature. A slight drop in your core body temperature is actually a key biological signal that helps you fall asleep.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that's why a warm bath or a shower before bed can work so well. It's not just the relaxing warm water.
It's the cooling down afterwards.
Exactly. It's the drop in your body temperature as you get out of the warm water and into the cooler room that really signals sleepiness. It preps your body for that temperature dip needed to initiate sleep.
That connection, the bath, the temperature drop, the sleep signal, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It shows how these physical things really tie into our biology. Okay, so environment is key. And then the sources talk a lot about routine, right? Sleep loves routine.
It really, really does. A consistent, predictable wind-down routine, maybe in the hour or two before you plan to sleep, acts as this powerful signal, both psychologically and physiologically.
Telling your body and mind it's time to switch gears.
Precisely. This sequence, dim lights, put away work, do something calm, it means it's time to transition away from the day's stresses and prepare for rest. And the sources emphasize it doesn't need to be complicated. Consistency is the key. Same simple steps every night helps build a rhythm your body learns.
So beyond temperature, light, quiet, what about the space itself? Any other practical tips for making it feel more peaceful?
Yes, a really practical one is the no clutter zone rule for the bedroom.
Ah, clutter.
Yeah. The idea is that visual clutter can actually contribute to mental clutter. If your eyes are landing on piles of laundry, stacks of work papers, just stuff everywhere, it's hard for your mind to properly switch off when you're trying to relax.
I can definitely relate. Hard to feel calm when surrounded by chaos, Or reminders of things undone?
Totally. So a tidy, organized space feels much more calming, supports a relaxed state of mind. And another simple tip mentioned, almost surprisingly effective.
Go on.
Making your bed in the morning.
Really? Making the bed?
Yeah. Even just quickly fixing the sheets and duvet, it contributes to this feeling of cleanliness, order, completion in the space right at the start of the day. And that then supports the feeling of calm and readiness for rest when you come back in the evening. It reinforces the bedroom as a place of rest.
Such a small thing, but I get it. Cultivating order in your personal space could be grounding. And finally, cozy comforts.
Right. Making your bed and bedroom genuinely inviting. Good bedding, maybe a favorite duvet. One source specifically mentioned cozy blankets, noting weighted blankets are popular now.
Weighted blankets, right. Some people find them calming for anxiety.
Yeah, the idea is they provide a sense of security, like a gentle hug, maybe grounding. But really, anything that makes your bed feel like a comfortable, safe haven helps create that sanctuary.
Okay, so we've set the stage. Dark, cool, quiet, tidy bedroom. Consistent wind-down routine. Now, what about the things we shouldn't be doing? The sources talk about detoxifying your evening.
Yes, this bit focuses on minimizing those common habits and substances that actively sabotage sleep and can actually make anxiety worse right before bed. The things working directly against finding peace.
And the usual suspects come up. Alcohol and caffeine. We know they're bad, but the sources explain why in detail, which is helpful.
Absolutely. Let's take alcohol first. It's a common myth that a nightcap helps sleep because, it might feel relaxing initially, maybe helps you nod off faster.
Right, feels like it relaxes you.
But the sources are very clear. Alcohol seriously impacts sleep quality, even if it helps you fall asleep. As your body metabolizes it through the night, it suppresses REM sleep.
REM sleep. That's the important one for dreaming memory.
Exactly. Dreaming, memory consolidation, emotional processing, really crucial stuff. Alcohol messes with that stage.
And there's that rebound effect too, isn't there?
Precisely. As the alcohol clears your system later in the night, your body tries to compensate for the lost REM. This causes a rebound where you spend more time in lighter sleep stages, you wake up more often, sleep becomes fragmented, less restorative.
So you might even have weird dreams.
Yeah, more intense or disturbing dreams can happen during that rebound. So you might fall asleep quickly, but the quality of rest is shot. You feel less rested, maybe more anxious the next day, which just feeds back into that cycle.
That perfectly shows why using alcohol for sleep just doesn't work long term. Okay, what about caffeine? We know it's a stimulant, but how does it specifically worsen things if you're already stressed?
Well, caffeine directly stimulates your nervous system. As the sources point out, it actually elevates cortisol and adrenaline levels, those same stress hormones from the fight or flight response.
So it amps you up even more.
Right. It increases alertness, blocks adenosine, that's a chemical that makes you feel sleepy, boosts energy. All things that directly fight against trying to relax and wind down.
Yeah.
Now, sensitivity varies a lot, Some people can have coffee late afternoon, no problem.
But for others?
For others, even a morning cup can impact sleep. And if you're already dealing with stress and anxiety before bed, your baseline stress hormones might already be high. Caffeine just adds fuel to that fire, making it even harder to relax and fall asleep. Avoiding it, especially afternoon and evening, is pretty crucial if you're prone to anxiety-related sleep issues.
Okay, so managing alcohol and caffeine is key. The other huge disruptor mentioned, especially now, is screens, blue light.
Ah, yes. This is probably one of the trickiest modern sleep disruptors. That blue light from phones, tablets, computers, TVs, it's particularly bad because it strongly impacts melatonin production.
Right, we need melatonin to signal sleep time.
Exactly. Blue light in the evening actively suppresses melatonin, basically telling your brain it's still daytime even when it's late. It confuses your internal clock.
But the sources said it's more than just the blue light itself, right? There's the mental stimulation aspect too.
Absolutely crucial point. Even with blue light filters or night modes, the content on screens is often super stimulating. Social media, fast-paced shows, stressful news, it all keeps your brain buzzing when it needs to be winding down.
And that specific term, doom scrolling.
Yes, one source called that out specifically. Compulsively scrolling through negative news or social media, it's like directly feeding your anxiety right before you try to sleep. Activates the stress response just when you want calm.
Perfect term for it. Like pouring gasoline on the anxiety fire.
Totally. So the strong recommendation is a screen curfew. Put away the electronics an hour, maybe 2, before you plan to sleep. Let melatonin do its thing naturally. Reduce that mental stimulation that keeps your mind racing.
Okay, ditch the screens. But replace them with what? Just staring at the wall doesn't sound very relaxing either.
Chuckles, no, definitely not. The sources offer concrete, screen-free alternatives. Reading a physical book under soft light is a classic for good reason. It's absorbing, but without the stimulating blue light or variable content.
What else?
Things like adult coloring books, physical crosswords or puzzles, listening to calming music, or maybe a podcast audio only. Or just finding any calm, non-screen activity that helps you gently shift gears, transition away from the day's demands without that intense stimulation.
Okay, so we've tackled the environment, the sanctuary, and detoxing the evening, getting rid of disruptors like substances and screens. But what about the anxious thoughts themselves, the racing mind? How do we deal with that directly?
Right. This is where we move to internal techniques. Practices aim squarely at managing stress and calming that anxious mind through active relaxation methods. The sources cover several powerful approaches here.
Meditation comes up a lot in this context. What kinds are mentioned?
Several types. Mindfulness meditation is one. That's described as observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment, being present, noticing thoughts as they pop up, but not getting carried away by them, just letting them drift by like clouds.
Sounds simple, but hard to do.
It takes practice, for sure. But it's noted for its proven effect in reducing sleep issues, probably because it helps you create some distance from those anxious thought loops.
Just noticing, not engaging.
Okay.
What else?
Guided meditation or imagery is another. This uses verbal guidance, often from apps or recordings, to help you visualize a calm place or experience, or walk you through focusing on your breath or body. It can be really accessible, especially for beginners.
Provide structure.
Exactly. And then there's meditative movement.
Like yoga.
Yeah, yoga, tai chi, qigong. These combine focused attention, gentle movement, and controlled breathing. They really emphasize that mind-body connection. Yoga, specifically, is highlighted in the sources for its well-documented benefits for stress management and sleep problems. It helps release physical tension and promotes relaxation through the poses and breath work.
So it's not about intense exercise, but mindful, gentle movement.
Precisely. Building awareness, calming the nervous system through deliberate movement, and fundamental to many of these practices is deep breathing.
Ah, deep breathing. Always recommended. What's the core idea there for anxiety at bedtime?
The core idea is incredibly simple but powerful. Consciously shift to slow, deep, even breaths. When we're anxious, our breathing gets shallow and fast, right?
All right.
Deliberately slowing and deepening your breath activates your body's parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. It's the opposite of fight or flight. It sends this physiological signal of safety and calm straight to your brain.
How do you do it effectively?
A really simple way is just putting one hand on your stomach, feel it rise fully as you breathe in slowly, and fall gently as you breathe out slowly. Just focus your attention on that sensation. While there are structured methods like 4-7-8 breathing, even just basic slow, deep breathing for a few minutes can really help reduce anxiety.
It's like directly intervening in the stress response.
Exactly. And then there's a technique that gets quite a bit of specific attention in one source, backed by an interesting study, progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR.
Yeah, I saw this study on healthcare workers. That seemed like a really key practical takeaway.
It really stands out. PMR is described as non-invasive, economical recall, you don't need anything special effective, and relatively easy to learn and do yourself.
Sounds like a winner for managing anxiety and sleep at home. How does it actually work? What's the process?
It's very systematic. You focus on deliberately tensing and then releasing specific muscle groups throughout your body, usually starting at the head and working down.
Like your forehead, then jaw, the neck.
Exactly. Forehead, eyes, nose area, jaw, neck, shoulders, arms, hands, chest, abdomen, buttocks, legs, feet. You work through these major groups.
One at a time.
Yes. For each group, you consciously tense the muscles noticeably, but without straining. Hold that tension for about 5 to 10 seconds. And while you hold it, you really focus on the feeling of that tension.
Okay, tense and focus.
Then, the crucial bit. You release the tension completely, all at once. Let the muscles go limp. And then you focus intently on the contrast, the feeling of relaxation spreading through that area for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Then you move to the next muscle group.
Tense, hold, focus on tension. Release, focus on relaxation, move on.
Got it. That's the sequence. A full session, working through the whole body, typically takes about 25 to 30 minutes. And what makes this really compelling, based on the sources, is that study you mentioned. It looked at healthcare practitioners in a mobile cabin hospital, a group under incredibly high stress.
Yeah, it sounds like a population really vulnerable to anxiety and sleep issues. What happened when they did PMR?
The study found that doing PMR daily for just 7 days led to a significant reduction in their anxiety levels and a significant improvement in their self-reported sleep quality compared to before they started.
Wow, a measurable difference in only a week. That's quite fast.
It is. And consider their baseline. Before starting, over 91% reported poor sleep and over 60% reported anxiety symptoms. Really high rates. After just 7 days of daily PMR, there was a significant drop in both the detection rates and the severity of poor sleep and anxiety in that group. It suggests PMR had a pretty rapid, measurable effect for them.
That's really compelling for such a simple, non-drug technique. How does it actually work physiologically?
The sources explain it works by directly calming the sympathetic nervous system, basically turning down that fight or flight response. By deliberately creating and then releasing physical tension, you're signaling to your nervous system that it's okay to relax.
Physically overriding the tension.
Kind of, yeah. The conscious release promotes physical relaxation, which helps mental relaxation follow. It also stimulates circulation and helps release that chronic muscle tension that stress often causes. It's like physically counteracting the body's habit of tensing up under stress.
So you're sort of teaching your body to actively let go,
Right.
which then tells your mind it's okay to relax too.
Exactly. Building awareness of tension and gaining a tool to release it. Now, the sources do rightly point out the limitations of that specific study.
Right, important context.
Yeah, things like a small sample size of very specific population, those healthcare workers in a unique, high-stress setting, and the short time frame. Just 7 days. Plus, it didn't account for every other factor in their lives.
So it's not definitive proof for everyone everywhere, but strong, promising results for that group, suggesting it's worth exploring further.
That's exactly how it's presented. Not a magic bullet, but highly promising, especially given how accessible it is, and the mechanism makes sense with how stress affects the body. A valuable tool to consider.
Okay, so meditation, breathing, PMR, active techniques using attention and body awareness. Were there any others mentioned, maybe leveraging our senses?
Yes, aromatherapy using essential oils also came up, particularly in the context of reducing anxiety to aid sleep. The idea is that our sense of smell, the olfactory system, has this direct, powerful link to the limbic system in the brain.
The emotion and memory part of the brain.
Exactly. So the theory is that certain smells can directly impact our mood and stress levels. Using essential oils is suggested as a way to potentially help lower cortisol levels. Maybe using diffusers or sometimes careful topical application.
Interesting. What specific oils were mentioned as potentially helpful?
Several were listed. Lavender is probably the most famous one, right? Highlighted for being calming, soothing, maybe even sedating. Cited as effective for reducing anxiety and depression symptoms, and some studies suggest it can help lower heart rate, body temp, blood pressure, all things that help prep for sleep.
Lavender seems like the go-to for relaxation.
Yeah.
Any others?
Bergamot, that citrus scent, was surprisingly mentioned for anxiety. Despite being citrusy, it's said to have relaxing properties, boost mood, lower blood pressure. Chamomile, too, both German and Roman types, noted for soothing properties, traditional use for sleep. Roman chamomile specifically highlighted for easing anxiety.
Okay, bergamot, chamomile. What else?
Orange oil, another citrus, also listed as potentially calming. Said to have anxiety-reducing properties, helps create a balanced mood, maybe good before meditation. Sandalwood, warm, earthy, grounding. Suggested for quieting racing thoughts before bed, maybe improving sleep consistency.
Cedarwood, too?
Yeah, cedarwood was linked specifically to sleep benefits because of a compound called cedrol. Some research suggests it has sedating effects, might improve sleep quality, maybe reduce waking up, especially if used consistently.
That's quite a range, each with a slightly different angle on anxiety or sleep.
Yes, and there were more. Rose oil, mentioned for stress reduction, studies showing it helps decrease rapid heart rate and blood pressure. Jasmine is interesting, can be stimulating, but also said to decrease negative emotions, redirect anxious energy calmly when used mindfully.
Ylang Yan.
Yang Lang, listed as good for sleep because it can help lower blood pressure and heart rate, preparing the body for rest without being heavily sedating like lavender might be. And finally, clary sage, noted for potentially reducing cortisol levels, hitting stress hormones directly, and suggested to have an antidepressant-like effect, clearing the head from tension.
Wow, that's a comprehensive list. It sounds like aromatherapy using these specific scents could be another sensory tool, using smell to influence mood and relaxation before bed.
It's presented as another potential avenue, yeah. Another tool for the toolkit, using a different pathway smell to influence the nervous system and emotional state.
Okay, so we've got the environment, the evening habits, the relaxation techniques like PMR and breathing, even aromatherapy. Now, the sources also talk about shifting our mindset, right? This idea of the power of gratitude.
Yeah, this was a really fascinating angle. Gratitude isn't just presented as an occasional feeling, but as an active practice, a tool for well-being that seems to have documented effects on sleep and anxiety.
How does actively practicing gratitude help with sleep and anxiety, according to the sources?
They point to specific benefits, especially from gratitude journaling. One study found that just 2 weeks of gratitude journaling led to improved sleep quality.
Only 2 weeks. That seems quite fast for an impact on sleep.
It suggests that, for some at least, shifting perspective towards gratitude can have a relatively quick positive effect. Other benefits mentioned include reductions in markers of stress and inflammation physiologically.
So it's not just feeling better mentally, it might actually impact physical stress markers.
Exactly. It's suggested to have these tangible effects. Gratitude practice is also linked to increased optimism, helping you notice the good things more easily, even when things are tough. And it can apparently strengthen relationships too, maybe by encouraging you to address issues earlier with a more positive frame, ultimately linked to greater happiness and life satisfaction overall.
Sounds like a fundamental perspective shift with ripple effects.
It does. And incorporating gratitude journaling into your pre-sleep routine could be another kind of grounding ritual. Writing down what you're grateful for helps connect with positive feelings, but it can also, importantly, be a way to get worries out by shifting focus. It ties back to that general tip about journaling for nighttime stress relief.
So you could potentially use the same journal session to write down worries and things you're grateful for, kind of balance it out.
Yes, acknowledging both the challenges and the things you appreciate could be a balanced way to clear your head. However, the sources introduce a really crucial nuance here, a warning about something called toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity, that sounds bad. What is it?
It's the idea of minimizing, suppressing, or just outright denying negative feelings or difficult experiences, the notion that you should always be positive no matter what, and mental health experts really caution against this.
Why is trying to force positivity harmful?
Well, the sources explain that ignoring or suppressing negative emotions doesn't make them vanish. Often it just intensifies them, or they pop up later in unhealthy ways. The pressure to always put on a good vibes-only face can be damaging because it stops you from actually processing difficult stuff authentically. It can lead to feeling isolated. It's more like denial than genuine emotional health.
So forcing positivity can actually backfire if you're trying to manage anxiety and find peace.
Precisely. It skips the necessary step of acknowledging and working through tough emotions. The healthy alternatives suggested include acknowledging all your emotions, good, bad, messy, whatever, without judging them. Just letting yourself feel what you feel makes them easier to process.
And how we interact with others.
Yeah, practicing listening to others who are struggling without immediately jumping in to fix it or put a positive spin on it. Just validating their feelings respects their experience. The key is balance. Gratitude is powerful, but it needs to fit into a realistic emotional picture that allows for difficulty, not used to pretend bad things aren't happening.
That's a really vital distinction. Gratitude as a tool for perspective is different from using positivity as a shield against difficult feelings. Journaling can be powerful, but needs to be part of an approach that acknowledges the whole picture.
Absolutely. Cultivating genuine appreciation while still honoring your authentic emotional state. That's the goal.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with that vicious stress-sleep cycle, then looked at setting up the physical space for calm, establishing routines. We talked about detoxing the evening, minimizing things like alcohol, caffeine, screens.
Then we dove into relaxation techniques, meditation, deep breathing, that detailed look at progressive muscle relaxation and its study, even aromatherapy.
And finally, cultivating gratitude. But with that really important caveat about avoiding toxic positivity and the need to acknowledge all emotions.
And the big takeaway weaving through all of this seems to be there's no single magic bullet, right?
Definitely not.
It's more about building this combination of simple, consistent habits and techniques, things that address the physical side, tension, environment, your evening behaviors, and your mental and emotional state.
Building a personalized toolkit, finding what clicks for you. And the sources seem to suggest that even small, consistent steps can start making a difference. You don't have to do everything at once.
No, absolutely not. Which brings us back to that really powerful idea I mentioned earlier about the brain and sleep. The sources highlighted how deep sleep, that slow wave stage, seems crucial for regulating our emotional centers. It can act like a natural anxiolytic.
A natural anxiety reducer. How does that work again?
During deep sleep, the prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking, emotional regulation part of the brain, apparently reconnects and strengthens its control over the amygdala, the fear and threat processing region. This helps restore the prefrontal cortex's ability to put the brakes on emotional reactivity the next day.
So, the habits we've discussed, all aimed at relaxing, reducing anxiety, getting better, deeper sleep, they aren't just about feeling better tonight.
That's the implication. Over time, consistently doing these things could potentially help reshape how your brain actually responds to anxiety fundamentally. You're not just managing anxiety to sleep better, you might be sleeping better to help your brain become less anxious overall.
That is a truly profound thought. The effort you put into calming your evening, improving sleep quality. It could be a long-term investment in making your brain more resilient to stress and anxiety.
Exactly.
So as you're wrapping up your day, maybe consider this question based on everything we've explored. What one small step, just one simple action from this deep dive, could you commit to trying tonight?
Just one thing to start that process. A step towards a calmer evening, better sleep, and maybe, just maybe, a less anxious brain down the road.